I'm a soldier for Christ. I'm a soldier for Christ. I'm a soldier.
No, they'll never take us under, because we're bringing truth like thunder. Raining on your speakers like a ton of bricks. Hold the cross high, cause we're Catholics. Fight the good fight with the truth. Stand tall with the truth. I'm a warrior for Christ. I'm in love with the truth. Love God, save souls, slay error.
Go stronger. Go stronger.
We're back to having a podcast with Zachary King. He was telling a story on live radio, and I don't want your listeners not to hear the rest of the story. So, Zach, can you summarize the story that you were at an exorcism not too long ago with a couple priests? Tell us what happened, please.
Right, we were at this, we were on exorcism. There was 3 priests, the exorcist, and 2 assistants. And, by the way, this young man when they asked the devil why he had permission to be there. And he said he got there through heavy metal music and pornography.
Wow.
And so as they're doing the exorcism, one priest is standing behind him, and he asked, "Do you mind if I put my hands over you and pray over you?" And the young guy was like, "No, that's fine. Go ahead and do that." So the main priest is in front of him, reading from a book and doing the exorcism. The guy behind him is saying a prayer. This other priest walks over and puts a first-class relic of St. Faustina over his head.
Wow.
And this guy cannot see this third priest. He can't see anybody behind him. And when the miraculous, or the relic went over his skull, he freaked out. He started screaming in like 4 different languages, pretty much all at once, coming out of him, yelling to get that relic off of it.
Wow.
And knew that it was St. Faustina, even though no one in the room had said that prior. You know, he knew it was St. Faustina, he knew it was a first-class relic, and he knew which priest was holding it.
Amazing.
You know, so absolutely, you know, if the person has a demonic problem, it will manifest.
Zachary, that is amazing. Because we're not on the air, we're not limited on time, I just want to follow up with one question that these stories that take place in a possession, when someone's, when people are praying and the support, can you tell our listeners just a setting that normally what takes place, and in your experience, how the priest actually demands and orders the spirit to say who they are, and just kind of run by for those who have never heard. I mean, we saw The Exorcist, or we've seen things on movies, but give us kind of an overview what your experience has been with exorcisms. What is the priest doing? How does it set up? Are there people praying? Are there spiritual supporters there during the exorcism? Tell us a little bit of what takes place at one of these.
Well, it kind of differs. Like, each exorcist has their own way of doing things.
Mm-hmm.
You know, it's not like now there actually is exorcism schools, but in the past there wasn't.
Mm-hmm.
And you would just have to find somebody that's a trained exorcist and kind of apprenticeship under them and learn how they do it. But they as well will tell you everybody has their own method and everybody uses what works for them. So, you know, it's like every priest has like a different set of criteria. One of the priests that I work with doesn't work with any of the demons that are there. He demands that the devil come before the tribunal and answer questions.
Yeah.
And then his job is to kick the devil out. And then he tortures the demons that are left over until they beg the devil into releasing them.
Gotcha.
You know, and eventually the young person becomes free. But that's the only priest I work with that does it that way. You know, I work with, like I said, everybody's got their own method. In a typical overview of a basic exorcism, there's generally about 5 people there. Usually at least 2 priests, and then you should have support people that will be praying. You also may want to have a couple of big people in case the person needs to be held down. And they as well, at many of the exorcisms, they actually tie the person to the chair. I've seen rope work really well. I've seen chains broken, and I've seen there's Velcro straps. I've seen Velcro straps just snap like they were nothing. and the person gives permission, of course, for all of that.
Yeah.
This isn't medieval torture.
No.
We don't do these things against somebody's will.
Right.
So you have somebody praying, at least two people praying in the room, and then there's usually the Eucharist. They have a monstrance there with the Eucharist.
Yes.
And that many times is brought forward, and they make the person kiss the pyx.
Yeah.
And then there's like a statue, usually at least of the Blessed Mother.
Right.
But they many times have Saint Faustina, and sometimes it depends on the priest as well. They may have other statues there as well.
Yeah.
They'll have at least you have the crucifix on the wall. The places I've gone to, we've done it in an actual chapel, in the church itself, and then in side rooms. Sometimes it depends on what's available to us.
Yeah.
And usually there's a mass said. It's a low mass, so there's not all the singing and everything else that goes on. So we do the mass first. That's how everything opens, and then sometimes the person is tied down before the mass, because sometimes once the host is consecrated, that's when the devil acts out.
Yeah.
And sometimes he isn't tied down until the exorcism actually starts. So it starts, the preliminary stuff, it's everybody meeting everybody and meeting the person that's going to be worked on. And usually he starts, when he comes into the room, or she, they're usually praying a rosary or something until it's time to start up. Then we do a mass, and then after that we launch right from that, usually into the exorcism, which is the priest reading from the rite of exorcism, usually in Latin, but there is an English version out. And then depending on how long it goes, there's usually a break about every 2 hours. And no matter how violent or upset the person gets that's possessed, before the break, the priest will do a blessing on him to bind him. Wow. And then they take the ropes off of him, and he sits with us. And, usually there's not food, but, you drink water and refresh and just take a break from what you're doing. Unwind a little bit, take bathroom breaks. And then, and then in about usually 15 minutes to half an hour, things resume. And, I've had the longest one I've been in, I think, was about 8 hours.
Wow. Zachary, let me ask you a question. I've been in not an exorcism, but I would say some kind of possession. We were praying in a church, had the Blessed Sacrament with adoration. We had Our Lady there. We had about 5 or 6 of us praying. We had some big cops, big dudes of Jesse's friends praying and holding the guy down because he did start foaming at the mouth, and he was speaking different languages. And we were there for about 4 hours praying, and the priest prayed over us before and after. We had purification prayers. This is not something that I'm going to suggest anyone to do, but I'm just telling you, this was my experience. And I want to ask you your comment, because after it was all done, Father prayed over us, and not just for us, but for our families. So because we were present with evil there, and then the next day, about 45 miles away, I went to a graduation for my daughter, where there were about 8,000 people in a stadium, and believe it or not, this man that we had been praying for last night happened to be in that stadium, and I walked by him. And when I locked eyes onto him, he looked at me. He started going into convulsions and started hitting his hand down on the ground like he was in a epileptic seizure. And I got scared, Jeremy. I'll be honest with you, Zachary. I was scared, and I just walked away as fast as I could. Now, I was told, because I try to live in the state of grace and receive the Eucharist and go to adoration, pray my rosary, that gentleman that we prayed for last night, when he saw me, the demon inside of him was agitated at seeing me. Is that a fair statement, or what is your take on that encounter that I had?
Oh, that would be a fair statement. The demon was probably very uncomfortable with you being there. Okay.
It scared the living you-know-what out of me. Yeah, it did. I'm being honest. I've never told people this on the air, but this is for real. Sometimes, Zachary, people tell me, oh, come on. That's like, centuries ago. The devil is not doing anything now. We're educated. We have science that tells us all this. There's no devil. We think of Flip Wilson saying the devil made me do it, but that's just your imagination. I just want to leave on one last note. What would you tell somebody who says to you, "Yeah, I'm Catholic, but this stuff about spiritual warfare or about the devil"? Isn't that archaic? I mean, is that still applying to Christianity today? What would your response be?
Well, the Pope usually stays up on all the new current events, and our last Pope brought up that we needed and as well Saint Pope Paul II brought up that we needed an exorcist in every diocese. If the devil's not real and demons don't do anything, what's that for? Is that just window dressing? That's just for looks. And unfortunately, in our country, we have more than 60 dioceses, but we only have 60 exorcists.
Wow.
And I know of 2 exorcists that don't believe in the devil.
That's sad.
So that makes it a little rough.
Yeah.
But the devil is absolutely real. It's too. I wouldn't recommend people go to an exorcism.
No, I don't either.
It's not a fun thing. It's not a fun event. Mm-hmm. And there's so many things that can attach themselves to you.
Yeah.
If you don't protect yourself properly. And but at those events, you'll notice that the person levitates. The person knows questions and answers about your grandmother.
Yeah.
The person that may be dressed like, for lack of a better term, a redneck, is able to speak Latin.
Whoa.
And like 9 other languages that are dead, basically.
Yeah.
So it's like, okay, they can do all these, and the priest puts the Eucharist on their tongue. And praise God for those people too, because it means that they haven't experienced satanic attack like it could be.
Right. Zachary, last thought that I have. When you talked earlier in the show, the live show, you talked about how Our Lady really was instrumental in your conversion. And I've read over the years, this is a really unusual circumstances when somebody gets infused knowledge on the faith. You used the word that you knew that the Catholic Church was the bride of Christ. You knew, your term was, in other words, that it was true. And that's such a special grace that you were given. And my question to you, I know today you can't see, you're blind right now, but do you continue as a lifetime occupation to study your faith through hearing, through listening, to just studying your faith? Or do you say that, hey, I got it all? Are you still learning? That's my question. I know. You're laughing. You should laugh.
I think the day I stop learning is the day that I'll die.
Amen, brother. Good answer.
And it's not because I'll stop learning and then I'll die. I'll be dead, and then that stopped me from learning. We have, I listen to books on tape.
Good.
And we get a lot of stuff from Catholic Answers.
Good.
And, and we do, we have the Bible on the phone apps that we have, for both our phone.
Sure.
So I still get to hear the Bible every day.
Yeah.
And, it's a learning process. I mean,
right.
I would think that even, like the pastor of my church is a theology professor at Ave Maria.
Good.
And he continues to learn every day.
Yeah.
He had to go to the seminary for 9 years just to be a priest, and then on top of that, he's a theology professor.
Sure.
And he stays on top of stuff. I am not as smart as my priest. And I don't see him stopping.
Yeah.
Therefore I can't stop either.
Yeah, no, I hear you. And, Socrates said, if I'm smart, it's because I know nothing. I'm still learning. and that's where it's at. And, Zachary, I have to be direct with you. Earlier in the show, Jesse asked you a question. You said, I don't know the answer to that. And there again, that shows me humility, because I point out that you're the expert for us on the devil, and there are things that you don't know, and you're honest to say that. And I appreciate that. That really opened my eyes to, and because I try to do that on the radio too. When someone asks me a question I don't know, I always say, well, you know what? I don't know the answer, but I'll look it up for you and I'll get back with you. I don't know it off the top of my head, but let me research it. And so I appreciate your honesty. And when you come out to California, people who are listening to this podcast, I hope you listen to it before January 15th and 16th, because Zachary's going to be at the Sacred Heart Chapel in downtown Covina at a spiritual warfare conference. You can go online to catholicrc.org and print out the schedule. It's all there on the computer. Or if you want to join us and get your tickets quick, because there aren't that many left, you can call us at 877-526-2151. That's 877-526-2151. Zachary King, I've never met you in my life, but I'm sure looking forward to next month, brother.
Me too.
All right,
Absolutely.
and your wife, too. I can't wait to meet you and your wife. And I know, folks, if you come to this conference, you're going to learn a lot, and you're going to understand something that is so essential in life, that life is short and that eternity is forever. And this life, really, what we do here is going to determine where we're going to spend the rest of our life. Is there anything more important than that? No. That's why, to me, one of the most important days of your life is when you find out the meaning and purpose of life. Zachary, you lived a life of away from Christ, in your early years. Can you just leave me on this? Now that you are a lover of Jesus Christ and the Blessed Mother and His bride, the Church, tell me what that's done for you personally about your motivation and getting up in the morning and having, the value of your life now. What has that done for you as an individual? Tell me.
Well, before I switched, I was a serious pothead.
Okay.
And so my motivation to get up in the morning was to wake and bake, and then put Pink Floyd on the TV and go back to bed.
Unbelievable.
And and that was every day. Even when I was a manager at stores.
Really?
I made good money. I made good money as a manager.
Yeah.
And then I would get baked when I got home.
Now,
That was my whole motivation.
hang on a second. My terminology, when you say baked, does that mean just smoking dope? Is that what that means?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, it's just pot. Yeah,
Okay.
it's just smoking pot.
Yeah. Pot.
And in Vermont, it's like they have like the strongest strains available of anywhere filtered through Vermont. So, I'm like high as a kite. I also was selling pot at the same time. And so I'm a dealer, and I'm smoking up, every day.
Wow.
And this was my life. This was everything. Even when I got married, my wife really liked let's smoke up every day, and just laze around and do whatever we're going to do. And then, okay, we have to go to work. And then you come home and you do the same thing.
Wow.
And my life was filled with, having the munchies 24 hours a day.
Wow.
And, and just going to work and coming home and smoking up. And that was everything. That was my world. Pot was my God.
Wow.
And then the day that I was given the miraculous medal and knew that everything Catholic was right, and everything about Zach was wrong, is also the day before I had gotten high. That was the last day I ever got high.
Wow. You mean cold turkey? You cut off that quick?
I did not need weed to make me feel like that anymore.
Amazing. Let me ask you keep going, because my question is, so many people call us at the show. We do shows on marijuana. What's your take on marijuana as a gateway drug? Is it dangerous? Mom and Dad are going to be hearing this, and they're going to go, yeah, my kid's smoking pot, but that's all he does. It's okay. Or does it really affect, do people want something stronger, and do they go to what they call it, a gateway drug, something stronger? What's your take on that?
Well, for me, the question I get a lot is on Dungeons and Dragons. Is D&D safe or not?
Yeah.
Nowadays, when you play it, there's no real magic in it. If you decide that you want to be a wizard, you pretty much have to, you have a dungeon master that rolls your dice, and depending on how strong some of your personality traits are, then that dictates what the dice number you need to roll to be able to do your magic. But that's not really a magic spell. Back when I did it, it was real magic in the books. And I described D&D as my gateway drug to Satanism.
Gotcha.
I could do real magic in that, and I was playing the Bloody Mary game, and both of those things combined got me to want to do magic in real life. Pot can be the same way. It can be some people will smoke pot and they'll throw up the first time and be like, I don't want to do this again.
Yeah.
That's not the person you have to look out for. You have to look out for the person that was like me with the D&D thing.
Gotcha.
You have to look out for the person that got high and thought, okay, that felt good, but what would feel better than that? Oh, I should take Xanax. I should take Valium. I should take methadone. I should take heroin.
Gotcha.
Oh, now I can't take anything else because I've OD'd and I'm dead.
Wow.
You know, it's the best thing to do. You know, my dad used to say this about alcoholics. The best way to find out if you're an alcoholic or not is to never start.
Well said. Great advice.
If you don't take that first drink, you'll never know.
Yep. That makes sense. Again, folks, Zachary will be here January 15th and 16th at the Sacred Heart Chapel for the Spiritual Warfare Conference. Get your tickets by calling 877-526-215 or go online, catholicrc.org. We'd love to see you there. Zachary King, it's always a pleasure to chat with you. And as I said earlier, I'm looking forward to meeting you and your wife here in California. And may God richly bless you and with the work that you're doing. Can you tell our listeners, too, your website so people know how to get a hold of you, please?
Sure. It is allsaintsministry.org.
That's it. Mm-hmm.
If you go there, you'll see that we have my phone number is there, my
Excellent.
email address is there. You can join you can join my website, and we'll send you a newsletter like every 3 or 4 months.
Excellent.
You know, it's pretty much our calendar is there. So anything, you know, if you're wondering, are we coming to your area, you know, of the world?
Sure.
As we are a global ministry, you know, we look on the calendar and it shows, we update it periodically. So, you know, it'll show every place that we're going. We also have a YouTube channel. We have about 35 videos up
Great.
that pretty much tell you things you shouldn't do, you know, things that are a mortal sin and that you should stay away from
Good.
to try and stay in a state of grace.
Good. Zachary King, thanks for all your good work you're doing here and bringing souls to Christ. Thanks again, and we'll see you, God willing, in January.
God willing.
Amen, brother. Take care.
I'm a soldier for Christ. I'm a soldier for Christ. I'm a soldier.
No, they'll never take us under, because we're bringing truth like thunder. Raining on your speakers like a ton of bricks. Hold the cross high, cause we're Catholics. Fight the good fight with the truth, stand tall with the truth. I'm a warrior for Christ, I'm in love with the truth. Love God, save souls, slay error.
Go stronger. Go stronger.